The Thanksgiving dinner table in Maple Grove had just been set with dishes and cloth napkins when I stood up. Thank you to whoever in this family used my Social Security number, SSN, to open a store card, I said, enunciating each word. Tonight, we're stopping the buy and return game to convert loyalty points right here at this table. Carol, my mother-in-law, squinted. Lena, don't turn a holiday into an interrogation of family. I pulled my chair in, took out 3 cream thank you cards. Inside there were no well wishes, only photos of return receipts printed with my name, the date and time, the store, and the delivery route. Mia, my sister-in-law, held up a just unboxed tablet. You misunderstood. I only borrowed the phone number to collect points. Tyler, my husband, set his hand on the back of my chair. His voice, low. Today is a family day. Can we talk quietly later? I looked straight at him. Family doesn't use my identity to churn returns. If you can't tell right from wrong, I'll use paperwork to draw the line. I'm Lena Brooks, 31, a data analyst in Minneapolis. I don't like arguing. I believe in timestamps and evidence. 6 weeks ago, the credit app reported a new store card open with my information, with the return address pointing to Mia's apartment. The next morning, USPS informed delivery showed an envelope in my name, but sent to Carol's house. That same evening, an email from the loyalty program reported my account's points were converted into a gift card used at Mia's online store 20 minutes later. I showed Tyler. He said, "Must have mixed up the number." I returned to the table. Mom's card. I slid it toward Carol. A photo of a parcel in my name, arriving on the exact date a return label was generated. Your card. I set it before Mia. The history of converting points into a gift card and the purchase on your store account, on a timeline. Your card. I placed it before Tyler. A 6-week timeline, from when I warned you to when yet another return occurred. Now there are 2 options for everyone, I said. 1. Resolve it in-house in writing. Repayment on a schedule. No repeat offenses. No access to any of my accounts. And an apology letter to the retailer to lift the alert. 2. I file identity theft and return fraud reports with all receipts, points history, and in-store pickup confirmations. Tyler tightened his grip on the chair. Carol cleared her throat. Mia was silent. Dinner turned into a 10-minute meeting, and that was when it all began. 6 weeks ago, right when the first signals appeared, which I tried to dismiss as a mix-up. Monday morning at 7:12, my phone buzzed with an alert from the credit app. A newly opened store card matched my Social Security number. The retailer was Best Buy. The delivery address listed Apt 3B on Lyndale Street, the very apartment complex where Mia lives. I opened my personal profile and checked the cards I already had. There was no Best Buy card in my name. I tried logging into their system via the Forgot Password option and realized an account already existed with an email address using my name, but the phone number on file ended with Mia's last 4 digits. I turned off the screen, took a breath, and told myself the store might have entered it wrong. The next morning, the USPS informed delivery email arrived as usual. The black and white images of the day's mail came up. Among them was an envelope clearly printed with Lena Brooks, barcode at the bottom. But the delivery address was Carol's house in Maple Grove. I zoomed in and read the returns department name of a home goods retailer. I checked my order history. That week, I hadn't bought anything that needed returning. I filed that image into the monitoring folder on my computer and didn't comment to anyone. By evening, my inbox received another confirmation from a loyalty program. The history showed my phone number had just been used to convert points into a gift card. 20 minutes later came a transaction spending that card on the Mia Boutique account on an e-commerce platform. The username matched Mia's store. I printed the confirmation page, underlined the timestamp, then walked over to Tyler, who was wiping the kitchen counter. "There's a new card opened with my number, a piece of mail in my name going to your mom's house, and the points were converted to a gift card spent at Mia's shop," I said evenly. Tyler leaned back against the counter. "You're being paranoid. Mia often borrows phone numbers to collect points. This is family. Let it slide." I stayed silent, put the printout into a file folder, and took more screenshots of the notifications. I didn't want to argue in the kitchen, but I wasn't going to let it pass. Over the next 3 days, messages from Target and HomeGoods appeared. Each one carried a small alert. My account had been linked to a phone number, and there was a request to generate a return label. I went into the history and saw labels created under my name with reasons "changed my mind" and "doesn't fit." The pickup method showed curbside. I hadn't gone to those stores. The final delivery address in the file once again pointed to Carol's house. I opened a spreadsheet and set columns for time, retailer, type of transaction, address, and anyone who appeared connected. I added a notes column to mark items for later verification. Friday night, I switched on what I call audit mode for my own life. I didn't use cameras. I gathered the evidence anyone can obtain if they sit down and do it properly. I downloaded loyalty points history files from the retailers involved. I renamed each file by date and source. I printed hard copies, highlighted every instance where points were converted to gift cards, and noted when the cards were used. I went into the return section and recorded the numbers the system generated for each case. Each code had a return label page. I printed those labels to compare with the day the post office imaged an envelope with my name heading to Carol's house. I sorted the printouts into manila folders labeled Best Buy, Target, Home Goods, Loyalty. I opened the app of an electronics retailer that offers in-store pickup and curbside. In the history, each pickup logs the time and the license plate number the customer pre-entered in the app. I saw a sequence matching Mia's car. We'd gone to lunch before. I know that plate. I took screenshots, printed them, and placed them next to the corresponding return codes. It wasn't camera footage, it was data the customer had self-reported upon arrival. I moved on to the gift card transactions used at Mia's store. I didn't need to break into anything. Her payment platform sends confirmation emails to customers. In the buyer history, there's a line reading, "Gift card applied." I saved the page with the amount, time, and transaction ID. The footer contains merchant identifying information. I wrote it down to tie the markers together. The hour points were converted to a gift card, where the card was used, and who used it. Later that weekend, I received a strange email, a password change notice for my account, but sent to lena.brooksplusreturns. I had never created this alias. I went into my email admin settings and checked forwarding rules. A new rule had just been added to filter messages containing return, refund, loyalty, and forward a copy to the odd address. I disabled the rule, took a screenshot of the change, and saved the timestamp. I changed passwords on my main accounts, enabled two-step verification, and called a retailer's hotline to flag my account so any future points conversions or gift card issuances would require confirmation through my primary email. The following Monday morning, I met a former classmate, Janelle, now a consumer protection attorney. We met at a cafe near my office building. I set the folders on the table. Janelle read quickly and asked concise questions. "Have you frozen your credit yet?" I shook my head. She told me to do it immediately on my phone. I went to the big bureaus and submitted freeze requests. Next, fill out a statement of facts. No need to write long. Just list the timeline, where things happened, reference numbers. Don't threaten anyone. Just state the options. Janelle outlined 2 paths. Path A, the family route. Repay the amounts used. Commit not to repeat. Issue written apologies to the retailers so they can consider lifting alerts on my account and terminate any access to accounts containing my information. Path B, the legal route. File identity theft and return fraud reports with the proper authorities, attaching all the evidence I'd printed and the retailer's confirmation numbers. Choose based on how they respond, she said. But whichever path, the paperwork must be clear, and the signatures must be complete. That night, I went home and ran the printer one more time. I drafted a short 3-paragraph letter titled Proposal for In-Family Resolution. I laid out the milestones. The card opened with my number, the envelope in my name going to Carol's house, points converted into a gift card and used at Mia's store, the curbside pickups matching the car's plate. I didn't use harsh words. I set 3 clear conditions: repayment according to the proposed schedule, termination of access to any accounts containing my data, and apology letters to the retailers so they can adjust their records. I printed 3 copies, placed them in envelopes, and labeled each with a name. I also prepared another, leaner packet containing only the timeline table, copies of the notifications, and the informed delivery images. I titled that folder Government Filing Packet, to be used if needed. The next day, I called the post office's support line to confirm that an envelope in my name was sent to Carol's house on the same day a return label was created. They confirmed it against the system images and gave me a reference number. I added that number to my table. I also sent requests to the retailers to mark my account for additional verification whenever personal information changes. One responded quickly by email. The other 2 called back the same day. I wrote down the names of the people I spoke with, the times, and what they did in the system. I showed everything to Tyler before Wednesday dinner. He leaned against the doorway and read each page. "I get that you're tired of this," he said, "but this is family. Mia probably just wanted to save a few points." I put the papers away and didn't argue. I had prepared 2 routes. If they chose the in-house solution, I would present the letter for signatures and set a repayment schedule. If they minimized it, I would file the packet without further discussion. Saturday afternoon, I arranged the folders in chronological order, put them into a clear plastic box, and clipped a checklist on top. I called Janelle to report that my credit was frozen, the letter drafted, and reference numbers logged. She texted back, "Stay calm, read from the paper, don't argue. If anyone tries to steer it into feelings, return to the timeline and ask for a signed acknowledgement." I set the phone down, poured some water, and looked out the window. It was starting to get colder outside. Inside, the printer had just spat out the last page. I closed the lid on the box. Everything was in its place. If you ask why I poured so much effort into every line, the answer is simple. I want to prevent this from happening again, and I want the people in the house to understand that identity is not something to borrow. The sheets I stacked that night are the very ones that would sit on the table at Thanksgiving dinner when I slid each thank you envelope in front of them. From that moment on, every let it go would stop working. The only thing left would be to choose a path, sign the in-house agreement, or let the authorities and the retailers read what I've printed. If you still remember the plastic file box I had arranged in chronological order, then that Thanksgiving afternoon it was in my trunk, ready to be opened if the family kept treating everything as a mix-up. Carol's kitchen was warm. The oven had 17 minutes left on the timer. A tray of marshmallow-topped sweet potatoes sat on the stovetop, and the cranberry sauce was cooling beside it. Carol and Mia were in the living room straightening napkins. Tyler stepped into the kitchen, closed the door behind him, and pulled me into the corner by the fridge. He spoke in a low voice. "Please don't make a scene today. Mom has been preparing all week. Let's talk later." I opened my bag and took out 4 pre-clipped printouts. The first clearly showed the order date using my information. The second was the return authorization and system label bearing my name. The third was the confirmation of points converted to a gift card. And the fourth was the transaction using the gift card on Mia's store account. I set them on the counter beside the countdown clock. This isn't a feeling, it's a sequence. Buying with my information, returning for store credit, then spending it at your sister's store. Every step has a timestamp. Tyler looked at the stack of papers without touching them. Can you try to be a little more forgiving? Maybe the store entered something wrong. Mia often borrows phone numbers to collect points. I pushed the first sheet closer to him. Purchasing with my information can't be a data entry mistake. The system requires a social security number. Here's the confirmation email with the recipient code. I moved to the second sheet. The return authorization is under my name. This is the informed delivery image from the post office showing an envelope in my name going to your mother's house the same day this label was created. I placed my finger on the third sheet. The points were converted to a gift card at 7:20 p.m. And here, I tapped the fourth sheet. The gift card was used on Mia's store account at 7:40 p.m. The time gap is 20 minutes. Tyler shook his head, gripping the edge of the counter as if to steady himself. You're turning something small into something big. This is family. Let it slide. No, I said slowly. If you keep brushing this off because it's family, you're choosing the side against the truth. He sighed. I'm in the middle. I don't want anyone to get hurt. I slid the pot holder aside so the paper would lie flatter. Being in the middle doesn't mean looking the other way. Being in the middle means you look at the timestamps and decide to respect them. If you call this a bookkeeping mistake, you're saying these systems made up my name. You don't have to take my side, but you can't defend what's wrong. He reached out as if to scoop up the papers. I held them in place without yanking. Don't do that. Let's finish reading. If you still want to keep quiet in the living room, we'll resolve it here, in the kitchen, with signatures. 3 agreements, clearly worded, not posted anywhere. Repayment on a schedule, termination of access to any accounts containing my data, and a letter to the retailers to correct the records. If not, say plainly that you choose silence. Then I'll file the reports. Tyler turned his face away, eyes fixed on the magnetic board on the wall. On it were a monthly calendar, a shopping list, and a summer family photo. He removed a turkey-shaped magnet and moved it to a corner. I just want dinner to go smoothly. Why make this bigger? I didn't raise my voice. We're in the kitchen. No one has heard. I'm saying this here so dinner doesn't turn into a fight. You have the right to choose the timing, but you don't have the right to deny the timestamps. He reached for his phone. I'll call Mia. Let her explain. I placed my hand on the phone, not grabbing, just stopping it. Not now. If you call, she'll spin it as, the points redemption was a misunderstanding. Here, we have 4 sheets. Read them. He was silent for a few seconds, then picked up the first page. His eyes ran over the name line, address, and reference numbers. Maybe someone used your name. Yes. And the person who used the points 20 minutes later is the account for Mia's store. If it was someone else, why did the gift card land exactly at your sister's shop? The oven beeped once to signal 10 minutes left. The scent of butter and cinnamon spread further. From the living room, Carol laughed loudly as someone said something about football. Tyler set the paper down. If we sign what you're proposing, Mom will think you're forcing it. The whole family will be upset. I nodded. They might be upset tonight, but if we don't sign, in a few weeks, someone in a blue jacket will come knocking. The upset will last longer. He looked at me, part annoyed, part confused. What do you want me to do right now? I took a thin folder with 3 pages out of my bag. Read, don't argue. If you agree, sign your section to acknowledge you've read it and agree for the conversation to continue after dinner. I'm not asking you to take the blame for anyone. I'm asking you to look at the sequence of timestamps and take responsibility for your position. Or say plainly, you choose not to sign because you think this sequence isn't credible. In that case, I'll move to the other route. He flipped the first page. The content was short, the wording simple. There were no legal terms. I'd asked my lawyer friend to edit it for clarity. Tyler finished reading, went back to the first page and asked, "Does Mom have to sign?" "Mom signs her own section. Your sister signs the part related to the account and the gift card. You sign the acknowledgement and agree not to interfere with my accounts." He set the pen on the counter, neither signing nor pushing the folder back. "I need 5 minutes." I nodded. 5 minutes. But before you go to the living room, I want you to say one clear sentence. That tonight, we will read from the paper and not deny the timestamps. He leaned against the fridge and looked at the oven clock. "Okay, I'll say that." He walked out of the kitchen, shoulders a little tense, still not taking the folder. I stacked the 4 printouts again and squared their edges. As I was about to follow him out, the wall clock struck the half-hour. Carol called out loudly, "Everyone to the table." I paused for a beat, glanced at the still warm counter, and slipped the folder back into my bag. I had no intention of exposing anyone in front of a crowd. I just wanted this put in the right place, and if tonight he went back to, "This is family," let it slide. I was ready to say my final line. If you still remember that in the kitchen Tyler had promised, "Tonight we read from the paper and do not deny the timestamps," then the moment Carol called everyone to the table, I knew it was time to keep that statement. The table was laid with everything. The turkey waiting to be carved, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, crisp roasted green beans, pumpkin pie set on the sideboard. Each person had a small name card beside a cloth napkin. Carol stood first, invited us to hold hands and say grace. As the word "Amen" had just ended, I sat up straight and looked over at Tyler. He gave a slight nod. I said clearly, "Before carving the turkey, please have each person read your card aloud." I placed 3 cream-colored cards in the middle of the table, each clipped to a printout. "Mom's card first." I pushed it toward Carol. Inside was a printed image from the post office's mail notification service. The name line read, "Lena Brooks," clearly. Below it, Carol's home address, with a date matching the return label the retailer had created in the record under my name. Carol took the paper. Her eyes darted quickly and stopped at the address line. She spoke softly. "This could be a post office mistake." I stayed calm. The code in the bottom corner is the parcel ID. It matches the date the return request under my name was created. Please read all 3 lines. Carol pressed her lips together and read each word, from my name to her address, and then the date. The whole table was silent. Tyler reached out to turn his water glass, without chiming in. "Your card." I slid the second one to Mia. Inside were the points to gift card conversion history for the account using my phone number, and a printout of the transaction where the gift card was used on Mia's online shop exactly 20 minutes after the return was completed. I had marked the times with a fine highlighter. Mia glanced over it, her voice higher than usual. "You misunderstood. I only borrowed the points. That item was a gift you bought. I didn't take anything from you." I shook my head and pulled another sheet from my bag. "This is the account opening confirmation using my social security number. On the form, the owner field clearly says L. Brooks. There is no field that says gift. If it was a gift, why are the card and the record in my name, while the points were converted to a gift card used at your shop exactly 20 minutes later?" Mia flushed. "I don't know about this. Maybe the system auto-credited." "Your card." I set the last one in front of Tyler. Inside was a concise 6-week timeline, one line per milestone. Week 1, I flagged a new card opened with my number. Week 2, the post office captured an envelope with my name going to Mom's house. Week 3, points converted to a gift card, spent at Mia's store. Week 4, you told me I was paranoid. Week 5, another return appeared under my name. Week 6, I printed the file. Tyler read from start to finish, not skipping a word. I said nothing more. On the table, the smell of turkey was still warm, but no one reached for the carving knife. Mia tapped the pen cap lightly on the edge of the table. I said I only borrowed the points. Families do that. And this tablet was bought with my sales money, nothing to do with you. I pulled over another receipt. Simple. Just 3 lines. The cardholder's name, the acceptance terms at opening, and the consent for data processing. The card opening receipt is in my name, I said. If someone else used it, that isn't borrowing points. That's using an identity. And if the item was a gift, you'd have a gift receipt from me. Do you? Mia was silent, looking to Carol as if for rescue. Carol cut in, her voice firmer. Don't ruin dinner. I kept my eyes on the center of the table and answered evenly. I'm not ruining dinner. The revolving returns under my name have been ruining this dinner since last month. Today I'm just putting it on the table so everyone looks straight at it. Carol set down her napkin, her hand trembling slightly. Lena, every family has mix-ups. Don't make outsiders think badly of us. I looked at her. There are no outsiders here. Only family, and 3 pieces of paper. Tyler suddenly pushed his chair a bit hard, his voice jumping. You're humiliating my family. Silverware clinked softly. I turned to him without raising my voice. I'm only reading what the system's recorded. If those words make someone feel ashamed, it's because the actions happened before the words. I paused a beat, then continued. We have 2 options. 1 is to sign the in-house resolution agreement. 2 is to let the authorities and the retailer's investigation unit read what I just read. Tyler exhaled sharply and ran a hand over his face. If we sign right now in front of Mom, don't you think that's too much? I shook my head. No need to sign at the table. We can pause for 10 minutes, go to the study, sign, and come back to eat. I brought pens and 3 copies for 3 people. No photos, no posting, no dragging it out. If not, I'll file the reports tomorrow morning. I'm not threatening. I'm giving notice so everyone can choose. Carol frowned. Are you turning my home into a courtroom? I said, no, I'm keeping dinner proper. If you want to eat in peace, 10 minutes to sign is a small price. Mia leaned back in her chair, eyes wet but voice still sharp. I already said I borrowed points. People do it. You're too rigid. I answered plainly. People may do it, but not with my information. No one has the right to slip into a secondary email to reroute notifications. No one has the right to use your mother's address to receive an envelope in my name. We are not people. We are family, and family has even less right to take shortcuts. Tyler looked down at the timeline in his card. I could see him wrestling between protecting his sister and standing on the side of the facts. I took a thin folder from my bag and set it beside the turkey platter. These are 3 short documents. 1 is an acknowledgement of repayment on a schedule, with the exact amount. No padding. 2 is a statement to cease all access to any accounts related to me, including phone number and email. 3 is a letter to the retailers so they can adjust the records and remove the flag on my account. All written in plain sentences. No hard words. I turned to Tyler. You don't have to take the blame for anyone. You only acknowledge that from tonight, you won't say, let it slide, anymore. Carol looked at the dishes, then at the wall clock. Carve the turkey first, then we'll deal with it. Tyler still hadn't picked up the knife. He looked at me, then at Mia. I'll sign my part, he finally said slowly. The rest, each person takes responsibility. Mia sprang up. I'm not signing anything. I didn't chase her. No one is forcing you, but if you don't sign, tomorrow morning you'll get a call. They'll ask about exactly what you just heard here, and they record. Here, we only write. Carol started. What call? I replied. The retailer's identity theft and return fraud unit. They'll call your number to verify. If you want to keep it in the family, this is the moment. Tyler stood, gestured with his hand. 5 minutes. He picked up the thin folder and motioned for me to follow him toward the study. Carol stayed seated, clutching her napkin. Mia folded her arms and looked down. I gathered the 3 cards and clipped them together. Before leaving the table, I made it clear once more. I'm not saying who is bad. I'm stating a sequence that happened. If anyone wants a peaceful meal, the fastest way is to sign and keep your word. If anyone chooses not to, that's fine too. But don't say I ruined dinner. In the study, Tyler set the folder down and read everything again. I handed him a pen. He signed his section and wrote the date. I'll tell Mom I'm agreeing to go by the paper, he said, his voice still tight. Thank you, I answered. There are 2 signatures left. I'll handle each one. When we returned to the table, Carol had carved the first slice of turkey. Mia was still silent, her lips pressed into a thin line. I pulled out my chair and sat, poured water, not rushing to press anyone. I gave everyone time to choose for themselves. On the table, the 3 folders sat neatly beside the dessert tray, like part of tonight's dinner, not heavy, but present. Tyler cleared his throat. Tonight, we read from the paper. No denying timestamps. No arguing. Carol looked at her son, then at me, and finally gave a slight nod. Mia said nothing. We sat up straight, didn't raise our voices, and simply set 2 clear options right in the middle of the tablecloth. I placed 2 thin folders side by side, put a pen in the middle so anyone could reach for it if they wanted. There are 2 ways, I said clearly. Option A is an in-house agreement. Sign on the spot. You, Mia, commit to installment repayment. Attach a wage garnishment authorization if you're late. Write an apology letter to me and to the retailers so they can consider removing the flag. Commit to no disparagement, no posting anything on social media, and no access to any of my accounts. Reward points, email, phone number. I set my palm on the other folder. Option B is filing identity theft and return fraud reports. I've prepared everything: data table, return codes, points history, and evidence of the alias email address. Tomorrow I only need to bring this folder to file. Mia looked to Tyler as if for rescue. What kind of signing is this? Like a courtroom? Tyler took a deep breath. I could see him trying to keep the promise he'd made in the kitchen. He said softly, Does it have to be this intense? I didn't dodge. We're past the let it slide phase. Because you can't distinguish right from wrong, I'm forced to draw the line with words on paper. Carol slid the knife into a piece of turkey and set it down, her eyes never leaving the folders. She asked quietly, If we choose A, does it stop here? I nodded. It stops when repayment is complete and there's no repeat offense. If there's a breach, it automatically switches to B. No need to meet again. I turned folder A toward Mia and opened to the first page, repayment plan. Amount, number of installments, due dates, payment by transfer. Each payment will have an email confirmation. If it's more than 7 days late, the wage garnishment authorization takes effect. Your company's HR will receive the signed copy to deduct each pay period until it's paid in full. Mia swallowed. I work part-time. My pay is irregular. Fine, I said. We'll set a fixed minimum and an extra amount if that month's revenue is good. Everything goes on the sheet. No one will force you to a number beyond your capacity. But this is real repayment, not converting points to gift cards. I turned the next page. Apology letters. One to me, one to the relevant retailers. The content states you used someone else's information, promise to cease, and agree that they may note resolved internally so my file can be unflagged. Mia opened her mouth, then closed it. I moved to page 3. No disparagement and no access. From now on, you may not use my phone number or email for any rewards program. No alias email to divert notifications. No writing anything insulting or ambiguous about me online. If you breach, the agreement is considered broken and we switch immediately to B. Tyler leaned back in his chair, still trying to sound gentle. Can we drop the wage garnishment part? It sounds heavy. I shook my head. That's insurance, so we're not arguing in month 3. If payments are on schedule, that paper never gets used. It only triggers when you're late. Carol exhaled. If we choose A, do we need witnesses? I'd already thought of that. We'll sign in the study with me, Tyler, and Mom. Each person keeps a copy. I'll send a scan to my attorney friend to hold. No public posting. Mia put her hand on the edge of the folder, pulled it a little, then let go. I don't know how to write the letters. I took a short template from my bag, 2 paragraphs, simple wording, with blanks for names. You only need to fill in your part and sign. Mia looked at the lines, her lips trembling slightly. I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought it was just points. I nodded. Siblings can help each other in many ways, except this one. Identity isn't communal property. The next page is the list of tasks to do tonight. Remove my phone number and email from any accounts you're using. Remove all devices that are logged in. Change your passwords. And enable 2-factor authentication. Tyler will help you check each item while we sit in the study. Tyler looked up. I'll check, but I don't want to turn into a warden. You only need to confirm the technical steps, not police her, I said. Your responsibility is to keep the promise no denying timestamps, and not shut down the steps that need doing. Carol flipped through folder B, her eyes skimming the list of documents. If she chooses B, will anyone get arrested? No one here wants that, I answered. But if B is chosen, the retailer and the authorities will follow their procedures. I don't decide for them. I only submit the truth. Mia turned to Tyler again. You say it. Tyler was silent, then said succinctly, I've signed my part. I won't stop you from signing. The choice is yours. I slid the pen closer. 10 minutes, I said. If you choose A, we leave the table for the study, sign, and come back to eat. If you choose B, I put this folder in my bag and file tomorrow morning. No added harsh words. The room was quiet for a few seconds. The wall clock ticked steadily. Finally, Mia pulled folder A toward herself. If I sign, will you tell anyone else? No, I replied. Only those who need to know to process this. The retailers and my attorney friend. Within the family, we keep it private. Carol nodded and sat up. Then let's get it done. I stood, took the folder and pen. Tyler pushed back his chair and motioned toward the study. Carol followed as witness. In the study, I set the folder on the desk, pointed to each line, and didn't rush. Mia signed the repayment plan, entering the first transfer date as next Monday. We chose a fixed day each month so it wouldn't slip. I handed over the wage garnishment authorization and explained in simple terms. Used only if you're more than 7 days late and silent. Mia hesitated, then signed. I asked for photos of the signed pages from both Mia's phone and mine, so each side would have an immediate copy. Next were the apology letters. Mia slowly wrote her name, signed, and dated them. Carol signed as witness. I clipped the 2 letters to envelopes already addressed to the support emails for each retailer to be sent tonight. Finally came the no disparagement and no access commitment. Mia signed. Tyler signed the acknowledged and will assist with access removal section. Carol signed the read section. With the 3 signatures done, I handed over the immediate to-do list. Remove my phone number and email from related accounts. Tyler sat beside her, opened Mia's phone, and went through each item. I read. Mia executed. Delete this number in the notification section. Remove saved devices. Change the password. Turn on codes via your own authenticator app. After each step, I ticked a box. In 15 minutes, we had completed everything. I emailed Mia's apology letters to the retailers, attaching a copy of the agreement and photos of the signed receipts. I added a short line. Requesting removal of the flag on Lena Brooks's account due to internal resolution and termination of unauthorized access. When we returned to the table, dinner was still warm. I poured more water and carved myself a piece of turkey. No one spoke loudly. Carol looked at me and said just loud enough to hear, "Thank you for resolving this with words, not noise." I nodded, offering no elaboration. Mia sat still, eyes still red but without resistance. Tyler exhaled as if a weight had lifted. I didn't say, "It's all over." I only said, "Monday, you send the first transfer. Friday, we confirm by email. After month 3, if it's consistent, I'll send an update letter to the retailers." After dinner, I washed dishes. Tyler took out the trash. Carol wrapped the leftovers. Mia stood beside me and asked quietly, "What if I'm late one cycle because a customer pays late?" "Give 5 days notice," I replied. "We'll adjust within a small margin, but if you stay silent, the wage garnishment paper runs." Mia nodded. "I understand." I closed the folder and put it in my bag. No one hugged. There were no long apologies, just the lines we had signed and a clear schedule. That's the only way I know to keep a family steady. Put the matter into a process, put the promise on a calendar, and put responsibility into a signature. If you ask how I felt when I stepped out of Carol's house that night, it wasn't immediate relief. It was certainty. I knew the inbox would have the retailers' automatic replies that they'd received the apology letters. I knew Monday would bring the first transfer, and if not, I knew what I had to do. I knew Tyler had understood that standing in the middle doesn't mean washing his hands of it. I knew Carol had heard clearly the line, "It stops when repayment is complete, and there is no repeat." And I knew Mia had seen the boundary. No more reward points passing through my name. Noise can't beat a timeline. Process can. And tonight, process won. If you are still wondering after the signatures in the study, here's the part everyone needs to hear. After dinner, Mia chose option A. She signed the installment repayment plan, also signed the contingency wage garnishment form in case of lateness, and sent 2 apology letters. One to me, one to the retailers. Tyler and I sat beside her to remove my phone number and email from all accounts, change passwords, and enable 2-factor authentication. The store cards opened under the wrong name were canceled, and my rewards accounts were reset. That night, automatic reply emails arrived in the inbox one after another. Received. Will consider removing the flag. 2 weeks later, Tyler moved to stay temporarily with Carol. He said, "Staying in the middle makes it easier to talk," but in reality, it was avoidance. Carol sent me a very short apology email, dry as a note, with the line, "Hope you keep this quiet." I replied bluntly, "I keep to the process. Whether it stays quiet or not depends on whether Mia repeats it." I wasn't threatening anyone. I was just restating the boundary. I hosted a small session called Paper Trail Club Holiday Edition, Right at the community library. A clear checklist to prevent financial abuse in the family before the holidays. Freeze credit when needed. Review rewards accounts. Find and delete strange alias emails. And control in-store pickup or curbside delivery with real names and real numbers. Each attendee took home a weekly fill-in template, not to be afraid, but to be proactive. At the end of winter, Tyler knocked on my door. He said, "I just want a peaceful home." I answered briefly, "Peace doesn't mean concealment. If you want to talk about the marriage, choose right and wrong first. We'll discuss the rest later." He was silent, but he understood. On a night of light snowfall, I saved Mia's first repayment into a folder labeled Closure, marking the date and amount. The last note I added on the cover: evidence beats noise. Harmony comes from process, not from silence. If you've ever encountered identity borrowing in the family, share in the comments. What was the first sign you noticed, and how did you handle it? If this story helps you stand steadier during the holidays, please like and subscribe to support me. Thank you for staying until the end of this video. See you in my next videos. Goodbye.